Part 76 of Don't Say Schwarzenegger. We are now at the closing arguments of our landmark 2021 civil trial. Okay, so the date is Monday, July 26th, 2021, the final week of our trial. And on this day of closing arguments, the judge changed her rule for the first time ever in her history of being a judge there, and she had the security be inside the courtroom, standing in the back, prepared for what was going to happen. Some small details. Shawn Driz was wearing a cashmere gray sweater, and William Joelson showed up 30 minutes late and was wearing a baby blue polo with a royal blue cardigan draped over his shoulders. Interesting look. Also, heads up, trigger warning, because there will be details and descriptions of injuries and the attacks. And again, I'm going to try to make everything as light as possible for community guidelines on TikTok. Also, how do I put this? I have very, very, very detailed notes of these proceedings, as you can imagine somebody like me would. I'll just leave it at that. A lot of details, and I'm going to sprinkle them in here. So throughout the closing arguments, Shawn Driz, and just remember too, because Maurice has cancer. So when you have cancer, especially we are 1 year into COVID, and so everybody's masked and everything, and a lot of people are using hand sanitizer and all that stuff. And also, like, if you're sick or you're sniffly or something like that, the last thing you want to do is be near somebody who's battling cancer. The last thing you want to do is spread your germs, share water bottles, all that stuff. Yet Maurice Driz was sharing his water bottle with both his brother and his son multiple times, and 7 times during this one day alone, Shawn Driz would pick his nose and wipe it on the table. They were all sitting at the same table together, or he would wipe it on his pants. So a lot of interesting hygiene things were happening that just, weren't what we did around my brother when he was sick, I guess you could say. So we start off, and the judge reads the jury instructions, and she had to stop and point out a bunch of mistakes that our attorneys had made, like spelling, grammatical. They spelt my name wrong. They spelt my brother's name wrong. Just a bunch of stuff. Easy mistakes that can be fixed within minutes, or they would be fixed after court by the end of the day. Just stuff like that. Okay, so closing statements. One of our attorneys gets up first, and just in case you didn't know this, but we learned this as we went along, but in a civil case, out of the 12 jurors, it doesn't need to be unanimous for us to win. We needed 9 out of 12 jurors to take our side for us to win, which was interesting because during the trial, we would be like, when the jurors weren't looking at us, when they were listening to the judge or whatever was happening at the front of the courtroom, we'd be in the back, and we'd be watching the jurors to try to we're picking at straws, like, which juror, what 3 jurors do you think will throw the case? Like, do you think any of them have been bought? Do you think, any of them, don't care about the case and are just, zoning out, ugh, can't wait to go home. I don't care what happens to these people. Because you just don't know, because they're not showing emotion. They're not, they're told very strictly from day one to not show emotion and to just listen and take notes in the little notepads and all that stuff. So we were trying to figure it out, and we didn't have any, clues or anything while this was happening. So we just needed 9 of the 12 jurors. And our attorney starts laying it out for them. He goes, so, we're going to ask you, did each defendant batter or aid and abet in battery against our clients, against Matt, against Ann, and against the other attorney for the third plaintiff? He mentioned how during discovery they found out that Alberto Driz had bragged about hitting me. He said that a witness had testified that both Alberto and Maurice, the twins, were seen kicking my unconscious body. He pointed out that Alberto Driz testified that he admitted hitting me because he thought I was an animal, but that was intent. Hold on, let me put the pictures up. There we go. Don't want to forget their faces and names, do we? He pointed out how the nice guy manager testified that he saw Maurice Driz sitting on top of my body and punching my face over and over and over while I was unconscious. He pointed out that Shawn Driz had punched the manager and said, "Get off my dad," so his dad could finish the job on me, obviously. He pointed out that another witness saw Maurice Driz slam my body to the ground. He also brought up how the manager said that William Joelson attacked him after Shawn Driz attacked him, again, so that I could be finished off just in case I was still alive. Then our attorney said, each of the defendants took the stand, lied through his teeth right to our faces, lied over and over again. Perjury. My attorney said, Alberto lied about his injured fist. William Joelson said he never kicked Matt's head. Video shown to the jury, and then all of a sudden William Joelson admitted he lied. He did kick him in the head. William Joelson actually said, I lied about it because my lawyer, Lewis Adelson, told me to lie about it. Shawn Driz said, I never miss a court appearance. My attorney responded with, that was a lie. My attorney then pointed out that Shawn Driz denied attending and speaking to me, violating probation, at my deposition. My attorney said that the deposition video showed it, that he said to me, Shawn, I just want to know if you're still afraid of me, plain and simple. And then in court, Shawn said, hypothetically, if I did it, it was just because I wanted to know. My attorney said he knew all along he was lying. Also, some of the notes, I guess you could say, that I took and remembered from this hearing. 3 different times while closing statements were done, Alberto Driz made pew-pew hand motions at our attorneys while they were speaking in front of the jury. While our attorney was describing our injuries, Shawn Driz laughed multiple times, even louder than before, but snickering and laughing during closing statements. At this point, too, Shawn Driz interrupted the closing statements and screamed, objection! Blatant lies! And the judge said, obviously, overruled. Then, while the closing statements were still happening, our attorney was speaking, the defendants kept grunting and catcalling and interrupting. And at that point, the judge had to stop everything, and she said, yeah, I hear it. Tell them to stop. It's just rude. Then one of the attorneys for the plaintiffs got up and he said, you don't kick people when they're unconscious. There are rules in society. It was a pack of animals hunting for victims. Turns out the defendants didn't like being called animals themselves because Maurice screamed, he cannot call me an animal! And then Shawn Driz got up and yelled, it's very difficult to watch this. Then the other plaintiff's attorney said, he tells the jury, they're trying to treat this court and this jury like they tried to treat that valet. That was so spot on. And that's when Alberto got up and yelled, I'm through, Your Honor. And then the judge was like, sit down. It was crazy. And then at this point, Maurice Driz starts laughing at the jury. It was so weird. Like you could see all of a sudden they were changing their contempt from us to the jury. So he starts laughing at the jury, but then he's in there like, the judge is like, what are you laughing at? And he's like, something else. And it's just, there's such it was so childish. Okay, I'm just going to read you some highlights from Shawn Driz's closing statements. Remember, they're their own attorneys. So he starts off with, I'm here to take full responsibility for my actions the night of April 16th, 2015. He's not. He says, as a son and as a brother and as a human being, I'd never let a woman be injured. He did the opposite. Okay, no. He says, I was in charge of 11 Blaze pizzas at the time and on the way to 25, which is an interesting note because that means that they had another 25 minus 11. Okay, so they had 13, 14 more Blaze Pizza locations that they had the financials to open because Blaze Pizza won't let you open them unless you have a certain amount of money in the bank because it takes a certain amount of money to have and a certain amount of money to keep them open. So where's that money? Interesting little tidbit. Okay, I'm going to take this on to finish the closing statements in the next part.